G'day, folks. Here we are, Tom and Gino, left, right. Tom from Lovell, Maine, Gino Funicello from Jackson, New Hampshire. And the world is full of news straight from America. The big one is we have actually, this is something that top management
all
brought
right,
this
yep.
in, so you might want to read this. And
You read it.
You want me to read it? By
You
the way,
got it in your hand.
it's February
Might as well read it.
17th of 2016. If President Obama nominates a moderate to replace Antonin Scalia, should the Republicans in the Senate approve that nomination on the chance that Hillary Clinton or Bernie Sanders might be elected president, assuming either of them would nominate a more liberal person?
Well, I think that's a shrewd question.
It's from a shrewd man, too. He's
Oh, of course, yeah. Well, there's so much involved with this. It depends on what your definition of moderate is, and when people say that, well, I could take, for example, Senator Susan Collins of Maine. Some people call her a moderate Republican. I would say no. She's a liberal Republican, and if it depends on. For Democrats, the biggest issue is going to be abortion, and for Republicans, that's also going to be a big issue. But what I expect will happen is Obama will probably nominate Loretta Lynch, the Attorney General, because she's been through the vetting process recently, and then they can turn around and say, well, she's a woman, you don't like her because she's a woman, you don't like her because she's black, and you already approved her by a vote of whatever.
97-0.
You know, just so long ago, and it's going to be
She's
hard
the Attorney General, right?
Right.
Yeah.
It's going to be hard for the Republicans to answer those charges, and it's being set up now as a classic political. It's strictly political. I mean, the arguments on the Democrat side do have more constitutional validity, I think. Okay, well, there's nothing in the Constitution says that a president can't nominate and get his nominee for the last year of his presidency. But it also says in the Constitution that the Senate has to, pass it by two-thirds majority, and 67 votes are necessary. So if the Republicans were to stop it, then it would also be constitutional for them to do so, either by legislative
they just
maneuver,
vote it.
of Senate rules and so forth, or by just plain voting them down, whoever he puts up, and for whatever reason. And I'll let you'll have something to say. I'll come back to some other points too as well later.
I think that, in no case would he nominate a moderate. He has the Republicans actually right where he wants them, because Scalia was a strict constructionist, a strict believer in the word, deed of the Constitution and the Bill of Rights.
He was.
So, in any event, the president has the right to send up whatever nominee he wants.
He does.
The Senate, of course, has the advising consent capacity that they've always had. He would send up probably someone as close to his image of government and the law as he could. Someone like Loretta Lynch, who he obviously likes because he picked her for Attorney General. There's another guy that's on one of the appellate court in Washington, D.C., that probably was the next in line. He's got he's in his
odd name, like
mid-50s.
Sri Lankan or something. Srinivashan or something like that.
He was appointed with 100-0 vote or something, been aired out completely. He's foreign-looking, I think. You know what I mean? So it would be somebody that would probably be in the mold of the two that he's already nominated and got on the Supreme Court. Just because the other side has a different opinion.
You mean the conservatives?
The conservative side has a different opinion of what he or she should be like. The president will nominate someone as close to how he is. And I think the Republicans, at their peril, make a Thomas kind of a argument that goes on for months. You know, the battle for Clarence Thomas.
I mean, like the Democrats did with Thomas?
Whatever. Even Bork. Same thing happened with Bork. Same thing happened back in the 60s with
Abe Fortas.
Abe Fortas. Same thing happened back when Earl Warren was first elected, you know, nominated. There's been a lot of baloney going on, and hopefully in this election year, with the weak cast of characters they have, and the already...
Who has?
That the Republicans have. I mean, people that haven't been politicians
You're talking
before.
about the presidents,
Yeah,
candidates.
I'm talking
presidential
candidates for president. If this happens, if there's a big battle that makes the Republicans look like do-nothings in a serious situation, with all the
Do-nothing.
recriminations that will go back and forth, that are already going back and forth in the
Already
electorate.
begun.
Already begun. If this happens that way, then the Republicans won't even come close in this election, no matter who they put up, no matter who the Democrats put up, because the independents and liberals will all flock to the left. Independents aren't going to vote for recalcitrant Republican Senate that won't put a nominee, especially if the person's already been voted by them 100-0 to be an appellate court judge or something. I mean, it'll just look so bad for them. So I hope that they can get behind whoever he puts up.
Who can get, the Republicans
Yeah,
can
the
get
Republicans,
behind
senators
the president?
can
Why
get
do you
behind.
hope that?
I hope it because it will ruin the Republican Party probably forever. As it is now, they look like they're not going to be much after this election.
Why would getting behind the nominee and giving Obama a moderate nominee?
Giving a moderate nominee.
Why would that
why would
ruin the
it help
Republican
them?
Party?
If they don't do it, it will ruin.
If they don't do it.
If they don't,
Okay.
if they don't elect
right.
a good candidate they're already elected to another office 100-0,
Yeah.
they can't come out and say now, oh, this guy just isn't the guy or the woman isn't the woman. They're
Yeah.
going to have to do it the right way. Give them a 70 or 80 vote or something. Express their opinions and go on and just tough through it. Because there's 2 or 3 other people on the court that are almost 80 or in their 80s. I mean, this could be something that could happen over the course of a month. You know, you
Yeah.
lose 2 or 3 to death.
Yeah.
And you can't do that. You got to run. You know, if he's running the country the way they don't want to run it, and if they think he's illegal, damn it, they should have impeached him. They should have sued
I agree.
him. Instead
They should have.
all they've done is talk about it. They
That's
haven't
right.
done anything. And you
Right.
can't have a government, no matter whether you like government or not, that doesn't do anything.
Right. Okay, so there's so many things
Ugh,
going on
it's
with
ugly.
this. So many things. One, when I heard that he died, it was a Saturday night. Turned on the TV, and there it was. He's dead. Okay. Right away, I suspected foul play, because he died in Texas. He was in his bed. There was no autopsy. I'm thinking, uh-oh. You know, natural causes. It said, well, and like. I just was suspicious, and I still am. I think it looks like there isn't going to be an autopsy, and the family doesn't want an autopsy. But I have my suspicions because Scalia wasn't just a conservative justice. Scalia was the conservative justice. He was a brilliant judge. He was dedicated, as you say, he was a strict constructionist. He believed in the Constitution as originally written
Original
and
intent.
as an original intent. And he was known to, although he was a conservative Catholic as well, and a devout one, 9 kids, one of them a priest, he was also, he would vote the other way sometimes. He would vote in a politically charged case on the side that the left favored because of a constitutional issue that he was sworn to uphold and preserve, protect, defend, etc. And he did do that. He was a principled man, but he was arguing. He was brilliant, and he was also funny, and he was sarcastic. He was just an all-around. He was a lion of the conservatives. He really was. And so, if it were somebody else like an Alito or a Roberts or a Clarence Thomas who died, it wouldn't be such a big. It would be a big deal because of the 5-4 split.
Oh,
you know,
sure, the numbers.
But it wouldn't be as big a deal as it is because Scalia was the absolute leader. You
Yeah.
know, and to replace him is going to be difficult. You'd need a Republican president, and you'd need a Republican-controlled Senate to get another Scalia. In today's times, you would. And that's what the Republicans, they want. Conservatives want that. Because there's so much stuff pending. The
There's a lot of
cases that are pending before the court right now
Birth
are
control.
important, and I don't have time to go through them
I
all.
know.
But over to you for now. Or, have I got two
I'll
more
end
time
this,
left?
and yeah, I'm gonna end this and start again. And the kids are here. Wait for it to go. Oh, okay.
I have more to say, but it's going to take too long. So
That's screwed up.
we'll hear
All right.
from you.
The thing is, he, to the right, to the conservative movement, he was a hero. To me. I didn't like him. I didn't like him. I thought that he said when he was nominated that he wouldn't be. I don't know the exact words. I'm paraphrasing, but that he just wouldn't be extremist on one side or the other.
Well, there's a word that, how do you define that, you know?
I know, well, but he took the court far to the right, to my way of thinking, on a lot of issues.
He did.
I think the main reason that Bob Bork, two reasons why Bob Bork, who was nominated sometime after Scalia, I think it was when, what was his name, died, before Thomas. Robert Bork was nominated by George H.W. Bush. And one of the reasons was that Scalia appeared to be so conservative that they didn't want to put another extreme conservative
And Bork
on.
would have been another brilliant jurist.
He was a brilliant mind, no
And
question about it.
yes,
My big problem with him
absolutely.
was Griswold versus the state of Connecticut. I thought, boy, he came down against the individual for the state when they wanted to bar contraceptions in people's own homes. And I thought, boy, you really can't go there. And that's what he did. And the other thing he did, he was the guy that fired.
Well, he was Solicitor General, wasn't he, at that
Solicitor,
point?
well, the one that was
He
replaced
fired
in
Archibald
Nixon.
Cox,
He fired
yes.
Archibald Cox and the Night of the Long Knives in Washington.
Yeah.
And that's what kept him out in his extreme conservatism. He would have probably been a great Supreme Court judge. Don't get me wrong, on the conservative side.
Not
We got
only was
Thomas
he very
instead,
conservative, but he was articulate.
but you got to be careful what you wish for. Bork probably would have been excellent, but a real conservative.
Well, to me,
We
that
got
would have been,
Thomas-
that's the definition
We
of
get
excellence.
Thomas, to me, is an idiot who never says anything, who defies description, and actually one of the rulings that was made by
He's having technical difficulties.
in a 9 to nothing.
Please stand by while we resolve
in an
these
8 to
technical
1,
difficulties.
8 to 1 case, he supported the left in the 8 to 1 case that would have allowed prisoners to be beaten by the guards.
Oh, come on, Gene.
Yeah, it was a case, and you know who voted for the prisons to be able to beat prisoners was Thomas. And I often thought,
I don't know what you're talking about.
it was a case that went to the Supreme Court back in the 90s about a prison that was beating up their prisoners all the time.
Let's talk about.
But anyway, let's go on.
talk
We got
about
other
what the
stuff.
Democrats did.
Let's go on. Let's go
No,
on to something else.
no,
Because
I
this
don't
is
want
getting,
to.
people are going to get real. They'll be turning us off left and right. Go
Okay.
ahead. I mean,
Raise your hand if you're bored with this. I don't see any
oh
hands.
my
Jim.
God, I can't see the forest for
No,
the trees.
I can't see
Go
any
ahead.
hands.
Go
They
ahead.
wanna
Keep it
talk.
going.
Yeah.
You want a teaching moment?
There are so many cases before the court that looked as though they were going to go the way, the 5-4 way.
Right.
And they involve Obama's manipulation of the Environmental Protection Agency. He was
Oh,
about to
it's-
do this, shut down the coal industry, and put the
Horrible,
nail
horrible.
the coffin lid down with his executive actions, and that looked as though that's the most recent one that the court was going to decide, which the court has to do. And you have an affirmative action case at the University
Yeah.
of Texas, another
Yeah.
one. You have an abortion case, which is the
Yeah.
first revisitation of abortion. So Roe v. Wade was on the line again.
big union
You
case in
had-
California.
You got that. That's a huge case.
Yeah.
Public employee unions, which is the backbone of the Democrat Party, the teachers' unions. And so you had an enormously earth-shaking cases
Yeah.
up, and that's what. And knowing that, and then he had the lion of the conservative court
Right.
dies all of a sudden
Amazing what
with
God
a
will
pillow.
do.
Then I find out the next day he had a pillow over his face. Yeah. So I'm
love
thinking,
it.
holy smokes! And no autopsy. What is going on? And those suspicions have not been allayed.
Oh,
I
please.
still
Don't
have them.
go
I'm
there.
not saying that it was he was murdered. But there are question marks in my head. And so yeah, this is a big deal. But the politics of it is even more big.
Oh, it's huge.
If the
It's huge.
Republicans did try to stonewall this nomination, which it looks as though they're
I
certainly
don't know
talking
if they
about.
will.
Some of
Yeah.
them are even promising to do it.
Oh.
That is going to expose it because it'll be blatantly political.
Oh, yeah.
The Constitution is not on their side on this one, and right away you have the Patrick Leahy and Elizabeth Warren
what a
and
mess.
Barack Obama are all saying, "Oh, well, you're all strict constructionists, but now you're about to
'Cause, you know,
obstruct the
Scalia would've
Constitution."
come down.
And I have to just bite my tongue and say, I know they're right because I know what the Constitution says on this. But
Well, anyway, I wrote
it's
down.
going to be a big political fight during a presidential election year when we already have the most
know.
unusual presidential election that in my lifetime, and I've been
Saturday
paying
night, I was
attention
writing
since
up
the
some
60s.
notes. I was writing some notes for this show, and I wrote down Scalia dead, and then I put in big marks. There is a God, and I was wrong doing that, and I take that back because he was a man of conviction in a lot of ways, and I have to say that he was a humorous guy. He had some humorous moments. This for a little levity. Cruz's wife, Ted Cruz, the senator from Texas who's running for
Yeah.
president. He's after 6 months on the job training as a senator. His wife did a crazy rant. Did you see her?
I did not see her.
They should leave them home.
But I heard something about what he
Oh.
has the face of God or something
Yeah,
like that.
she said Ted will reveal, and I had to reread it 3 or 4 times in different places. Ted will reveal the face of God. I mean, what is that all about? And we don't, I'll tell you one thing we don't need.
Okay, her husband Ted Cruz will reveal the face of God. If
That's
he's
what I
elected
read.
president,
Yeah,
you mean?
Yeah. And I'm thinking,
right.
we have so many problems with the Muslims right now, right? The Muslim religion and all that. We don't need a bunch of problems with the Christian religion that head the same direction. That, this guy is related to Allah. What's going on? I mean, we don't
What
need...
guy is related to Allah?
Cruz. Cruz has this door open to the will of God or what God... We don't need the Sharia law in this country. We really don't. We don't need anybody that's heading towards it. We should head away from it. We should be a secular state, in my opinion. That's just food for thought.
I can't let that go.
I don't blame you.
I'm not I'm a Christian. I'm a believer. I'm a conservative Christian. I don't think there's no contradiction between letting my Christianity inform my political decisions. That
As
has
an
been
individual,
true.
as an
That has
individual.
been, as a public office holder, as a president, as a Supreme Court justice, as a congressman, anything. All of our founding fathers were believers of one sort or another. They were either Christians or they were deists or they had
Yeah, maybe.
they believed in. Some of them who wrote the Declaration of Independence said we are endowed by our Creator, capital C, with certain unalienable rights, and that's the founding principle of the United States of America. And governments are instituted among men to protect those rights. But the rights don't come from the Constitution; the rights come from God. That's the basis of our whole government, Gino. And if you look at state constitutions, they all almost all of them mention God. And the First Amendment says Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion, but the ACLU on your side leaves out the next phrase, which says, nor prohibit the free exercise thereof. And Adams, one of the founding fathers, said that we can't, and Jefferson even, whose belief was less stringent than Adams, said that we need a Christian populace in order for this to work. We have created something to restrict the power of government over people and protecting individual freedoms, but it can't be done completely. It depends on a Christian populace. We're a Judeo-Christian nation. When Obama comes out and says that Islam has always been part of the United States, that's BS. There is no basis for that. Nothing. That's complete baloney. And Christianity is amenable to democracy and a republican government, a republic meaning, to the republic for which we stand. But Islam isn't. Islam and Sharia law is contradictory to it, as Ben Carson brought out, and he was right. I don't think, that
I
doesn't
don't-
scare me nearly as much as it scares you.
It worries me because I don't like what happens in places like Egypt and
Again, that's
and
Islam, and that's
Syria.
Sharia law.
And Christianity can be just as bad if utilized in the wrong hands.
Not
it can go the
according to-
same way.
Not according to its precepts.
It
You
should-
can't
no,
find
according to
anything
its
in the New
precepts, no.
Testament
Well,
that's
if you
going
read
to
the
be.
Old Testament,
Yeah,
you
but
would
we're
think it's fine to stone an
Christianity is
adulteress,
based
right?
on the New Testament,
Well,
not on
yeah,
the Old
I
Testament.
suppose, but a lot of people that spout religion also spout a lot of Leviticus and stuff like that. All these people that are on the radio talking about religion, they've given it a bad name in a lot of ways. They don't, if Jesus Christ came through some of these villages right now, I think he'd be stoned by a lot of people. He'd have,
What
there'd be
villages?
many villages.
You mean in the United States?
Yeah, in the United States. I don't think Jesus Christ would be accepted here anymore.
Well,
because you know what? This nation, a lot of our
Who
states.
turned him over to Pontius Pilate for execution? It was Jews.
I know, but I think well, at least that's what they said. The thing is, I mean, our government, although maybe with a prayer beginning and everything else, should be run by the political side of the equation, not the religious side of the equation. 'Cause
I agree with that.
That's
yes.
what I'm talking about, basically.
Oh, yes.
I get concerned when people run for president. She says he sees the face of God in him or something like this.
Well,
Uh,
I mean,
Anyway,
all of our
listen.
presidents quoted God. I
It's
mean,
something for you.
read the
It's-
Declaration of
During
Independence.
during the recent election in New Hampshire for Democratic side, 66% of New Hampshire voters on the Republican side, I'm sorry, want to ban Muslims from entering the U.S. That's an amazing statistic. 66% of all of the Republican voters in New Hampshire want to ban Muslims from entering the U.S.
Does it say permanently, or does it say?
Just ban them from coming in. I don't know. I don't know what the question actually read, but it was to ban
I
Muslims.
think that would be prudent. In these times, absolutely
Well,
would
what
be.
about if the person were Muslim and his sister is in Cairo and she's moving here to live with her brother in Boston?
If he can, they
That
have
would
to
mean
be
you'd have
vetted.
to-
You can't vet Syrian Christians when there's a civil war going on in the country.
Syrian Muslims?
Fewer than 1% of the Syrian refugees are Christian, even though Christians are being murdered by Muslims. And we don't bring them over here, we bring in other Muslims. If they can be vetted reliably, then I'm not against it, no. But I don't think they can be vetted. So for now, I would say, let's just put a temporary hold on it until, and depends on where they're coming from. I mean, look what they just let in, this woman from Pakistan who shot up San Bernardino, and she was vetted.
Oh, that one, yeah. Well,
I mean, you can't. These times. I
No,
agree.
that's
I
okay.
agree with those 66% right now, but not permanently. I wouldn't permanently ban them. I'd say for now, I would put a hold on all immigration, legal and illegal, just like we did between the 1920s and the 1960s. We need time to let people assimilate. 1 in 4 Americans was born in a foreign country. One quarter of the entire Mexican population has come into the United States. It's time to stop it for now and just let us assimilate. We
Well, we've
need
talked
to
about
stop all immigration.
Yeah, we've talked
For
about
now.
this so many times that you know the rule. Find the people that hire them, and then it won't happen.
I'm with that.
That's so easy to do. That's what I mean. That was
Now you're
your
talking
time,
about
by the way.
illegals.
So, huh? Yeah,
Well,
I mean,
yeah.
it's so easy to do, and I don't know why we won't do it. It's so simplistic.
Because there isn't a bipartisan consensus to do it. Because Republicans want illegal immigration, and so do Democrats, but for different reasons. And so they don't want to ban it. No, that's why Rubio is the establishment Republican wants Rubio.
Yeah, but he's
And
also changed his mind. He's gone up
he
and
says
down.
he has.
I mean, he was the one that brought
He
the
says
bill
he
to
has,
the
but do
president.
I believe that?
He brought the immigration. He was a co-signer on the immigration modification.
I know, yeah.
And now he's changed his mind completely.
Well, he says he did.
You know
do
what?
but
There's so much. I almost think that Trump may be the most honest one there.
no.
In real time, I mean, he says things that appeal
Ben
to a lot
Carson
of.
would be the most honest.
Oh, Ben Carson. He's like, oh my God,
You would
the
agree with him,
Italians
but
have a saying.
I think he says what he believes.
Yeah, but the Italians have a saying. It's called mezza morta. You know what mezza morta means?
Something
in
about
Italian?
death.
Half dead. I mean, the man there's no there. He's like this bizarre creature who shows up on the stage and mutters a few words.
I
and
like
then-
the guy.
I'm not trying to like or dislike. I just don't think he's presidential. I mean, you want another Calvin Coolidge? This guy makes Calvin Coolidge look like
Yes, I do
like a
want another
runabout.
Calvin Coolidge.
Makes
I
Calvin
absolutely
Coolidge look
do.
like a-
That's exactly what I want.
Oh my God! Yeah, he was good. God Almighty. Anyway, let's see the Koch brothers.
There we go again.
They are against anything positive that would relate well for a human being working for a living. I mean, they're just so anti-people. I can't get over everything I read about them. And I don't have anything here that's, definitive, but God almighty, trying to keep coal going. You know, there are more people by far working in this country right now on solar energy and wind power, people in the field working, than there are mine workers. Many,
Yeah,
many
I do
times
believe
more.
that.
But,
I-
it's like...
But that doesn't mean. Yeah. Oh boy, that's another.
Look
whole
what's
thing.
happened to fracking. Fracking is dead.
Yeah.
It's dead because it costs $80 a barrel to produce it, and right now oil's selling for $29.
I know.
I mean, so if we accelerate our wind power and solar power, we won't need fracking in a couple of years.
Mm.
Texas is going wind power all over the place.
Right. And when it's cloudy and the wind's not blowing and it's at
Oh,
night, I mean,
and the
what are we
world
going
comes
to
to
do,
an
Gino?
end.
Freeze?
Save a little oil on the side. Your turn,
A
Sonny.
little?
little.
Oh, geez. I think I'll
You
go
got some-
into some
let's
of
have
my
some
notes.
stuff.
Yeah, I
You
got
got some
I got
stuff, do you?
stuff here.
See, we don't rehearse the show. This show is spontaneous, right?
Here's the kind of
Did
thing
you
you
call
may
this
see.
spontaneous? Okay, you're on.
Yeah, I
Go
mean,
ahead.
spontaneous. I mean, we both pay attention to what's going on in the news.
Absolutely,
We both
as-
pay
as you
attention
all
to
should,
history.
too.
Although you're misguided in your interpretation of it, but we do pay attention. Americans say media bias. According to a recent Rasmussen poll published yesterday, media bias is a bigger problem than big campaign contributions for the 2016 election. It's close. It's like 47% to 46%. I think it's the biggest issue. And when they say media bias, they mean leftist media bias,
Why only leftists?
because that's where the bias is.
Oh, really?
In
Oh,
the
really?
opinions of 47% of the people polled by Rasmussen.
Who are Rasmussen? Where are they?
I don't know where
I
they're
don't know
based,
what they
but
are.
they've been around a long time. I have a link here. I'll send it to you if you want. Which is the bigger problem in politics today? Voters pick media bias over money, 47% to 45%. Okay. What's
That's
more,
close.
the survey found that voters believe the media has too much power in politics. Some 66% said it was too powerful, compared to just 26% who said the media wielded just enough influence in the election. There's another bimbo eruption in the Bill Clinton's bimbos. I hadn't heard of this one before. She's a former Miss Arkansas, and evidently was
A recent one?
No, she's
No.
old, but she's back in the news because so many of the women who claim to have been harassed or raped by Bill Clinton over the years have banded together and are now trying to, circumvent Hillary Clinton's nomination.
I can understand that. I
So
can
she's
understand.
just another one from the past. I guess she has come up sometime. I never heard of this particular one. There's so many, but this one wasn't familiar to
It's
me.
my
but
turn. Let me.
She came out
So,
yesterday.
so you know what? I loved James Carville's comment on that lady that there were a couple of women, Jennifer Flowers. I can't remember the other one.
Paula Jones,
Paula
there's so
Jones,
many,
yeah, yeah. He
Juanita
said-
Broderick,
he said it's
Kathleen
me,
Willie,
three,
you want me to
three
go
or
on?
four, right? Okay. But the point is that he said on TV one night, and I thought it was a comic. It's amazing when you can get by dragging a $100 bill through a trailer park, and I think that all of a sudden you get this guy, what's his name, that played the doctor on TV, the black guy. He's being blamed for Bill Cosby. He's being blamed now. They've come out of the woods. I think all of Turkey showed up the other day at court, and they claimed against him. And there were so
All of
many
who?
people, all of the country of Turkey. I mean, there's so many people that are now claiming that Bill Cosby done them wrong. I mean, where does it end? Where does it end when everybody can jump on the dollar bandwagon?
Are you doubting that that Bill
I doubt.
Cosby
I
did
doubt
these
that.
things?
I think that a lot of things are overstated. I know there was this great war against Clinton and his wife when they were even running for president. Then he was president, and all these people, Paula Jones. I mean, just they come out of nowhere. But there is money
Do you
involved.
doubt?
I don't.
their claims?
I doubt the claims in the essence that I don't know if they're doing it for money or if it's actually true or they're exaggerating.
So you doubt their claims?
I doubt some of the claims. I doubt the claims currently against.
You don't think Bill Clinton was a hound dog?
I think he had his moments. I
I think it's proven with Monica Lewinsky
Yeah,
at least.
pizza delivery. I mean, that was
Who?
went with the pizza.
What?
She brought him pizza in the White House.
That's all they did.
That was
So
part-
she
no,
might
but-
have eaten a slice while she was there. That's all, huh?
That was part of the story that she used to come visit him and bring him pizza.
Are you you are defending him? You're casting
I'll
doubt on what
defend
happened,
any man.
aren't you?
I'll defend any man against these barbarous
Oh,
women.
God, Gino.
I think it's kind of humorous.
This is really hurting Hillary. This is really hurting.
I think she
Hillary.
should have left him home for this.
is.
Really, in all honesty.
She should have divorced him. But she didn't. She
Maybe.
didn't
Then-
because
then the right
she
wing would
didn't,
be
and
blaming
this is
it-
why.
Then the right wing
Also,
would be blaming
you know,
it for being a
it was
divorcee.
interesting to watch this happen. You had Madeleine Albright, who my
I
side would
hate her
call
hats.
Madeline
I always
Half-
hated her
Madeline
hats.
Half-Bright. But then you and Gloria Steinem together. Now you had two 80-something-year-old
Yeah.
former man-hating feminists
Yeah.
who wanted to line up the votes for Hillary Clinton. And
Absolutely.
one of them said, "Oh, you young women who are going over to Bernie's side, you're only going over there because that's where the boys are." And she had to take that
Who
back.
said that?
Gloria Steinem.
Did she
Yeah,
really?
she did. And then you had Madeleine Albright who said, "There's a special place in hell for women that don't support other women." And then, interestingly, there was a huge backlash against the 18 to 25 by the 18 to 25-year-old females, most of whom are going over toward Bernie, and they're saying, we're offended by both of those comments, and we believe in gender equity, and we don't believe in just voting for a woman for the sake of her being a woman. And and it was interesting to watch.
Kinda
From my
comical,
side to look at that, and he's losing the young. Hillary is losing the young vote, and she's losing the women's vote. I mean, the
Well,
only demographic
some.
she's got is white women over 65. It's and the Gloria Steinem and Madeleine Albright, and I know many of those women. That's my I'm a 65, almost 65-year-old man. I know a lot of these women. I worked with them for years, and I have some idea on how they think. And yeah, it's fun to watch Hillary's base disintegrate.
Well-
although you got Bernie coming up, and he's another whole kettle of fish. Just he's a true believer. He's like the Ben Carson of the left. I mean, I believe that Bernie believes what he says. He doesn't set off my BS alarm. Neither does Carson. But but Bernie,
Here's
for
a-
Bernie
here-
to actually run, if it's Bernie against Trump,
Here's
I'm
the
thinking,
story.
oh my God, what am I
The
going to
women,
do?
the women that are negative about Hillary right now. There's another reason too. A lot of young people want the free education. That's a big draw. Okay, that is a big draw. When someone says,
I agree, it
you're
is,
gonna
yeah.
you're gonna go to Harvard, Yale, wherever, and you're gonna go for free, and they're
He's
facing
not
quarter.
saying not private, only public.
Well, yeah, but
Cool.
it's all blended in together. Like, ooh, this is good stuff.
Come think it is.
So yeah,
Yeah.
and
You
and
can go to
I-
University of New Hampshire or UMaine, but not
When Hillary
Harvard.
wins, my wife will be mad about this, but when Hillary wins the primary and she goes on to be the nominee, and all those women will come running right back to her, because think of the alternative. All these women would have to vote for Donald Trump,
I hate to think
Ben
Trump-
Carson, Jebster Bush, Cruz, Pablo Cruz. Look at this group of inhuman men towards women that have to vote for Donald Trump, who says, fat women, fat women. I mean, stuff like that, or black women, or these awful brown rapists from Mexico. I mean, the Republican Party, and you know how many states you're going to lose. This is what they're afraid of. If Hillary Clinton becomes a nominee, Republicans will lose the Senate, that's for sure, because of disaffection among the rightists.
Wait a minute, if who becomes a nominee?
Hillary Clinton becomes a nominee,
The Republicans are going to lose the Senate?
they're going to lose the Senate.
Oh, because she'll bring
Yes.
coattails?
Exactly. Huge coattails. And they may even lose the House or come very close to losing the House. And I'll tell you what, in 4 more years, when she runs again, God willing, and the creek don't rise, she becomes a second-term president. They'll lose the House too. I mean, the Republican Party is doo-doo.
Nobody can predict that far out.
I am predicting.
I'm having a hard time even predicting November 2016, much less 2020 and 2024.
Every once in a while, I review our 5 years of shows, okay?
You do.
Every once in a while, I run them all for weekends, for entertainment for my
You do?
friends. No, I
Oh,
don't
on the
really.
DVDs?
This is a joke.
Uh-huh.
DVR. How many hours of TV would that be? So I run them just to see how many of my prognostications have proven out. I'm running about 98%.
Oh, come on, Gino.
98%. I did miss Scalia. I did miss that one. Although I had prayed.
Are you out of time?
Yeah, it's your turn.
All right, I'm going to go with something else.
Go to something else.
Speaking of the Scalia thing, I pulled
You
up
have to
this.
talk about him.
I
Go
pulled
ahead.
up this paragraph. Ted Kennedy, who was on the
Wonderful
Senate
man.
Judiciary Committee, grilling Robert Bork,
The Borks.
who had recently been vetted prior to that.
Yeah,
as
he was,
on the Board of Appeal, Court of Appeal somewhere.
Washington, I think that district that's in the Washington area.
Whatever. He was recently vetted, and so now here's what he said. None of this did he have any evidence for. He said, Robert Bork's America is a land in which women would be forced into back alley abortions. Blacks would sit at segregated lunch counters. Rogue police would break down citizens' doors in midnight raids. School children could not be taught about evolution. Writers and artists would be censored at the whim of government. And the doors of the federal courts would be shut on the fingers of millions of citizens for whom the judiciary is often the only protector of the individual rights that are at the heart of our democracy.
He was a great Democrat, wasn't he?
Oh, God, that guy. And he had such
When
a...
did he say that? Did he say that during the
He
hearings?
said that during the hearings,
I
yes.
watched all those hearings. You know.
Oh, God. So,
I was working out of my house then.
and
I watched the
him
whole
with
thing.
such a lily white reputation, riding on the wings of that woman that he drowned in his Buick.
Oh,
in Martha's
please. Are we
Vineyard.
ever going to forget 50 years ago?
No,
For
we're
God's
not going to
sake.
forget that because...
The woman could not swim. It's not his
So
fault.
this kind of thing, not to mention what Anita Hill did to Clarence Thomas. Again,
Oh,
no
poor
basis
Clarence.
except for he said, she said, and how
Poor
Joe
Clarence.
Biden was chairman of the Judiciary
He put him
Committee
right
at the
through.
time, and he allowed this kind of hearsay testimony by Anita Hill. He gave her a huge forum and put the screws to Clarence Thomas that completely.
And then he recommended
right, a
Clarence
high-tech-
Thomas for the board.
This is what the Democrats did, okay?
I- Being
Now
finan-
for them to say, "Oh my gosh, this is strictly political," what they're
let
planning
me-
to
let me-
do with
let me bring
Obama's
some-
nominee.
let
This
me-
is all, it's
Let
political.
me bring some sanity
All
back
of it's
to this
political.
discussion. I was able at the time, because I had started my new corporation working out of my own business, I was able to have my TV going during some of these things. And believe it or not, this shows you, how advanced
Which
we are.
one?
I watched
Thomas
the
or
Ollie
Bork?
North hearings
Yeah.
in full. I was able to watch the Bob Bork hearings in full. I was able to watch the Clarence Thomas hearings.
So you don't remember that
Embarrassing.
statement by Kennedy?
I do remember he was all over him like a cheap suit. I don't
Mm-hmm.
remember the words. I actually watched all out, and I actually watched the entire, beginning to end, O.J. Simpson trial. Those years were my greatest years. I did lose my sight because of it, but I mean, I watch a lot of these shows, and
boy.
I can tell you, the Bob Bork hearings were very, very heated. The Clarence Thomas were heated and embarrassingly heated because that poor man being subject to a black man's lynching or something like that.
High-tech lynching.
High-tech lynching of poor Clarence, poor exposing himself, Clarence. But anyway, you don't believe it. You don't believe the Pepsi-Cola, the Coca-Cola can, the pubic hair. You don't believe any of that stuff.
There's no evidence.
Evidence. Anita
Nothing.
Hill swore an oath that she was telling the truth. I don't remember old Clarence swearing any oath. And then she was interviewed by the foremost FBI, a lie detector expert. He passed her with flying colors, okay? And our friend, the current vice president, Joe Biden, put that turkey on the Supreme Court when he could have directed that away. And I blame Biden to
Did
this
you
day.
notice how silent Ted Kennedy was during the
He is
Clarence
now.
Thomas hearings? During the
Clarence
Clarence Thomas
I
hearings,
don't
which were
remember.
about sexual harassment.
Yeah, we had
right?
some problems
Well,
with
yeah,
that.
he had some problems when it came to talking about sexual harassment, much the way that Bill Clinton does.
He also didn't.
Yes.
He also never graduated from Harvard because he was cheating on a test. If you remember, do you know that?
Yes, I know that.
He had to go to the University of Virginia,
Yes, I know that.
where he attained his degree. See, these people, they get away with everything. I mean, it really is. It's amazing.
Got away with
I
murder.
think Clarence
He
got
literally got away. Well, it wasn't murder. I'd
But
call
now
it
Clarence
manslaughter.
hasn't exactly been Brandeis on the court. Can we agree on that? That he hasn't been, Justice Stevens or even anywhere near
Because he
Scalia.
doesn't ask questions during
He
the
doesn't
hearings.
have any tongue in his head.
He
never
does write opinions, however.
Oh, they're probably written by his clerks.
Are you a racist?
No, but I don't like Clarence Thomas at all.
No.
Why would I be
because
a racist?
he has the wrong politics, right? Blacks are supposed to have liberal Democrat politics. Blacks are not allowed to think in any kind of conservative way because then they are Uncle Toms right off the bat.
There's a
So
lot of-
Democrats say that they can only be liberal and they can only cry racist, and that's how you have to be if your skin is dark.
Don't you think that there were a lot of conservative blacks around, though, really?
I know there are a lot of
There are a
conservatives.
lot.
right?
They're
And
on
many of them-
TV all the time. I see them
Like
all the time.
who?
They were on Fox, even on some of the other channels. There's black theoreticians.
There are black conservatives, but you're not going to see them on the NBC Nightly News. You're not going to see them on Meet the Press and Face the Nation, and you're not going to
They
see them.
bring 'em
They're
out.
just
Fox-
not going to be on there.
Fox rolls them out. every
Fox
once in a
will,
while.
yes,
Yeah.
but not any of the liberal networks do.
I
The
remember-
media bias-controlled networks.
See,
no,
CNN
which
has
control about
s-
90% of the television viewership. Fox has a very tiny percent of viewership.
On cable? No, they're big on cable.
The whole
You mean overall?
television
Yeah.
audience, Fox has a very tiny sliver of it. NBC, ABC, and CBS control the vast majority of it, and you're not going to see a black conservative on any of those
Well, that's too bad
programs.
because I think it's important to hear all sides of an issue. I don't think
I
you
do
can,
too.
I don't think you can make decisions as an intelligent society and not listen to all different sides of an issue. It's like the letters that have been written about you lately in the paper. And I have to say that on TV, they're not fair to you because you have a right to your damn opinion. I may disagree with
Why
some.
are they not fair to me?
They're not fair because they take it out of context. If you do a 5-minute dissertation on something and someone takes 2 seconds of what happened in the middle of the conversation, or to say you should lose your job, why hire this? How much you ever going to learn if you only read newspapers that are written by people that exactly agree with you as a mirror, of what
I learned early on in my writing career. It was an editor. I think his name was Tom. I forget his last name. He was editor of the Sun Journal in Lewiston, which carried my column several times. And once I was attacked by this woman whose husband was a rabbi in Lewiston, and she said, questioned something I'd written about Israel at the time, and I wanted to answer her in my column the following week, and he said, "Don't do that." I said, "It's not a good idea." He said, "Trust your readers. Trust your readers. They'll read what you wrote, they'll read what she wrote, and they'll think about it, and
No
they'll come to
measure
their
it.
own
Yeah.
conclusions, and trust them, trust their judgment." And I followed that advice ever since, and that was more than 20 years ago. He's right.
I
So
think it's a
what I
mistake
do
to
is
jump into it. You know
that
what I mean?
guy who wrote one yesterday or the day before,
Yeah, from San Clemente.
California somewhere.
Nixon, I think his name was.
I don't remember his name. It was a complete logical fallacy. It was a classic
Yeah.
logical fallacy. He didn't address any point that I ever
No.
made in my columns.
No.
He just said McLaughlin is a racist bigot or whatever,
Yeah.
the usual kinds of, leftist diatribe. He didn't. So anyone who thinks and knows something about logic will say that's an ad hominem attack. It's just
Yeah.
there's no basis in fact. So that's what I have to trust. And if people don't see that, then I'm not going to try to argue and present my case to them. What's the point?
You're never going to change their
No.
minds.
So just let it be. Let people make up
Well,
their
I
own
happened to
minds.
be. I was. Do you ever go to the 302 Lounge over in?
I've been there about 4 or 5 times.
I was walking in the other night with a bunch of people after something, we'd been to this concert, and walking in there with a bunch of people about 8 or 9 o'clock at night, and the guy stopped me on the way in the inside the place in the foyer. You're the guy, he says, that's on TV with that McLaughlin. So
Yeah.
I knew right which way the conversation was going.
Yeah.
But he's a watcher, and we've got a lot of watchers. I wish I'd send some cards and letters in, because people actually say to me on the street, "Gee, when is your show going to be on again? We've seen it, whatever." And I think some of them, though, are pretty, especially the Republicans. They watch it and they think it's a new show, like. I thought you said the same thing the other night. They'll say to me, I didn't.
I
it was
see,
it
yeah.
was a tape.
You explained that.
Yeah, you have
it's
to you have to
repeated.
explain it. They're
Yeah.
repeated several times.
Right.
And you can get the the schedule in the local Conway Sun.
Yeah, but they won't tell you which show is coming up.
Yeah, they tell you left, right. Oh, they don't tell you which year. No.
Yeah.
We should have actually.
Recorded this day,
We should begin to show some of the old ones, like our off week when we're not on. We could have them replay ones we did in 2010 or 11. Might be interesting to see how correct I've been, how you've really fallen off. I mean, the ratings are,
Our ratings have
Yeah, our
fallen off?
ratings, no, our ratings are very good on the liberal side, but the conservative side just doesn't seem to watch. I don't know
Well,
why.
see, you live right here in the community of New Hampshire. and
Yeah.
I live on the fringe of where
is
cable
fringe.
reaches.
Yeah.
this program would only show,
You
it
have to
doesn't
go
go
out.
beyond level. So we're on the outer
Yeah,
fringe
you have to
of it.
stand in the yard.
And I don't,
hold your
occasionally
wand.
people say, yeah, I like your
Lovely.
show or whatever, but not as often as it happens to you.
You could get lost in Lovell. I mean, that's an awful place to travel around. I mean, it really is a tough spot to. I couldn't find
There
my
aren't
way.
that many
out.
roads, so
no,
how
there's
do you
only
get
like
lost?
one road, but I mean, the road goes forever. It's like the road that
Route
never
5
ends.
goes up, up through the middle of town, yep.
And then you come to that notch. Is it an Evans Notch? Is that over there?
No,
somewhere?
that's in Stowe. Stowe
Listen,
Chatham.
there's another thing here. And just to go back on the Scalia thing for a minute, in the last 104 years, I think I talked to you about this before, there were 6 Supreme Court justices have been nominated and accepted in the last year of presidential term.
Uh-huh.
All 6 were admitted in 3 months or less. Some of them were 24
The
days.
turnaround time takes.
Yeah, some of
less-
them were
not
24
that-
days
yeah, it
because,
is
if
that long
you
process.
just suppose you went for a job application somewhere as a teacher and they say, oh, there's your experience, 35 years, blah, 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 but you don't get that job. And then next week, they get an opening, somebody drops dead, and the history teacher, they say, hey, that guy we just interviewed had great recommendations. See, he was 20 years experience, blah, 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 blah. Let's call him up. Well, that's what you do, and that's what he'll do. He's hopefully not going to, he won't go after Obama, won't go after someone that they haven't talked to. And this is where it's really going to be a problem for the Republicans, because if they just accepted somebody 6 months ago, like Bork was on the Washington circuit or something, he had been put on the circuit during some administration.
This was a blatantly political attack on him.
Oh, it was.
There was no
A-
basis
absolutely. I didn't like him.
in
I didn't
law
like
or
him.
anything else. And that is probably what's going to happen this year.
I
Only
didn't
it would
like
be the
him.
Republicans being blatantly political. And it's going to have an effect on the presidential campaign.
Oh, huge,
Absolutely
huge.
will.
It
and
will
it's
drag.
a very risky move on the part of Republicans
They gotta
to
show
sponsor
themselves
this
as
fight
bigger.
and
They
say,
have to be
no,
bigger.
Obama, we don't want an Obama nominee. And it has to do with these cases that are pending before the court and many others that are going to come up afterward. There's going to be gun control cases. They're going to be, and this is it. If the Democrats get a majority, if the liberals get a majority, and the liberals vote, always, you can predict what Breyer, what Sotomayor, and what Kagan, and Ginsburg, you know exactly
But
where they're going to vote,
99
and they never waver.
Yeah.
But the Republicans do. I mean, you had Roberts that went with Obamacare. He said, yeah, taxation, Congress does have the power to tax, and we could call it a tax. And you have
That's one of
Anthony
the
Kennedy
only-
is constantly going back and forth. And you have even Alito
Kennedy
and,
is the-
and even Scalia. He said, well, constitutionally, I have to say, I don't agree with it, but, constitutionally,
I think
it's right, and that's my
constitutionally,
job. But you never see the liberals waver. They're doctrinaire liberal, and the
know.
Constitution be damned.
Well,
That's how
you
they
can
are.
say that there on the court, and maybe, I don't know, and I don't follow enough of the cases to know. I do know that there have been some strange decisions by both sides over time. Things I agree with, things I don't agree with. But again, that's why you've got a Supreme Court. They make the decision. Whether you like it or you got to live with it, at least till someone comes up with an amendment to the Constitution. Look, there are some of these guys that don't even believe in affirmative action of any kind. All right, and I think
I
Scalia,
happen to be one of them.
Yeah, Scalia was probably in that mix.
He was
That
very
don't
much
believe in
against it.
homosexual rights of any kind. That don't believe in a lot of things that people have become accustomed to over time. Okay, and if they want to change it, they do it at their own peril because look what's happening now. Kennedy has been the arbiter in many of these decisions that are very close. He swung the 5-4
He has.
to the more liberal
Yes.
side, even though he's
Yes.
very conservative. Now, if
No,
you
he
get,
isn't.
well, he's moderate.
He used to be.
He's a moderate. Let's say he's a moderate on the. He's voted for some things that.
All right.
I think. What's his face? Thomas has never voted with.
No,
a
I don't
liberal.
think he.
No,
I
he never
can't
has.
think of one in which he.
And
has,
maybe
no.
maybe you're right. Maybe the constitutional construct, as original intent, has been looked at much more closely by the conservative side
Oh yeah.
than by the liberal, which is probably kind of like.
You got Breyer. He says, oh, it's a fluid document.
Well, they
in other words, can-
believe that because things change. Right? I mean, I understand the saying the right to carry guns, bear arms, is something that's it's probably encased in stone. But does that include, machine guns? Does that include anti-tank weapons? What does it include? The right to bear arms? Where
And
does
all that stuff is argued, right?
Yeah,
All
what
that's
the hell are they
subject to
gonna, how are they ever
interpretation.
going to come to a real agreement? I mean, in the 30s and 20s, the government had a rule: no machine guns, submachine guns for individuals. You couldn't buy them. Okay.
Yeah. You
During the
still do.
90s, you had the those big heavy weapons there that you couldn't
Assault weapons.
Assault weapons. You couldn't buy them. Well, those things come back and forth and back and forth.
They
but
do.
it's never been delineated really as to can you buy a shoulder-fired missile? I don't know.
I don't happen to know either.
Yeah, exactly.
I understand
so how
your.
do you,
I understand your argument, but
that's
knowing
what scares me.
we have
Not that I'm scared.
the Constitution does allow for itself to be changed, and it's outlined in Article 5.
Yes,
This is
amendments.
the amendment
Right.
process. It's a very cumbersome
It's
process,
stringent.
which is why we've only had 26 or 27 times, and the first 10 were all done once, so we really only had 16 or 17 amendments after the Bill of Rights
Yes.
passed in all these times. So it's something when the liberal side wants to make a change, they don't go through the amendment process. Last time they tried was with the Equal Rights Amendment, and it never passed. So they say, no, we'd rather do it this way,
Came
which is
close, you
not
know.
the way it was intended.
It came close.
Intended. I do know it came
Utah,
close.
I think. I think Utah killed it. right?
Yes, right.
Hey, we should do question number 2.
All right, go for it.
Because I don't know what time we started, but I haven't had any. This looks like a short question. Oh, this is interesting. What is your opinion of superdelegates? Do you think they should continue or be done away with? I'm assuming he
I
means.
should know this, but I'm not clear, but I believe that superdelegates are on the Democrat side. I don't think they're on the Republican side.
I don't really know. I know on the Democrat.
But what do I think of them?
Yes.
I think it's, if I were a Democrat, I would be very much against them. I'd say, let the people decide who they want. And a superdelegate, for the audience that doesn't know what they might be, like if the governor is a Democrat in New Hampshire, so Maggie Hassan is a superdelegate. And so are the 2 senators. They're
Yeah, there's quite a
superdelegates.
few of them.
So are there's one
I think all the
Democrat, one
reps.
Republican in New Hampshire, in the House, right?
I think I don't know if the executive council counts.
And so at least the congressional delegation and the sitting governor, and maybe a few other offices.
yeah, there are other offices.
Are, okay, superdelegates.
I think there's
So
9 in New Hampshire.
They say they can vote for whomever they wish. So
Right.
they're party officials, that high-ranking party
Right.
officials who can swing an election. So now here you had Bernie clobbered Hillary,
Right.
but yet Hillary ended up with more delegates.
Exactly.
But the ones that are not superdelegates, the regular delegates, were delineated according to the vote. So Bernie got more of them. But you had Maggie
Because of the
Hassan
super,
and
they're gonna say
Senator,
more.
what's her name, that one senator in New Hampshire,
Shaheen.
right? Shaheen already pledged themselves to Hillary.
Yeah.
And so so she won them, so to speak, because she made whatever deal she made with them. But they can change their minds too before they get to the
I
convention.
don't know if they can or not,
So what
can
it-
they?
Yeah, they can.
See, I think the whole
They
thing is
can.
confusing. And
They can change their minds, so they could swing it. Now, they're there so that the party can overrule the voting, the rank and
Right,
file, and that I
right.
don't think is a good setup. I
No.
don't think the Republicans have superdelegates. Maybe they do, but I don't think they do.
Well, you know, this has been one heck of a good show. I think that
What's so good about it?
I think it's good because of this stuff with Scalia, it's important. I don't know how many people even understand really getting
One third of
involved.
Americans said Scalia. Who's he?
I know a lot of
had no
people didn't
idea.
know. And it's amazing. I don't know what they're watching. I think a lot of, and not because I like Bernie Sanders. I think he's a good man. I was watching something on TV last night though, where he was being interviewed. That was a current interview. It was probably recent. And he was saying he would look very tired and worn. I mean, he's 74 years old. I mean,
That's grueling. What
he
they
says,
do.
I'm fighting 17 battles right now in 17 states. Now, here's the guy, 74. He'll be nigh on to 80 by the time if he were elected. And then watching Obama yesterday out in California when he was discussing the thing about this Asian trip, people, that meeting and all that stuff. And then they touched on Scalia and returning someone else to the Senate to this, blah, blah, blah. And I thought, boy, he looks tired. He's gone all gray.
Hillary does too.
Yeah, they're tired. And it's a tough job. And he did say that during the speech and the discussion. I thought, yeah, you know what? It really is a tough job because someone like Bernie Sanders, what does he do at 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the morning when he gets a call to come into the Defense Department because somebody somewhere is throwing nukes around somebody's backyard or something?
I don't know.
Well, you know,
I think the thing that disturbs me about Bernie.
We don't
He
have
took-
much time now. I'm just trying to let you know. Sorry.
Well, maybe I'll save it for the.
You know what? If you
but
write
he
that
had
down-
he's had his honeymoon in Cuba, and in the Soviet Union. Now, is he a communist pretending to be a socialist? I kind of think so.
I don't know. I think
Why would he have
our
his honeymoon
government-
in those two communist countries?
Our country is so screwed up now after watching some of these debates. I don't know where we're going. Hey, folks, you know we are going. We're going to
are.
shut down for
Yep.
2 more weeks, and we'll be back here on, let me think here.
think
Let
it'll
me
be March,
Just
won't it?
check my, March. Believe it or not. March the 2nd of 20 and 16.
Time marches on.
Thank you, folks. Thank you, Tom. It's been a good show. See you next time, folks.
Bye-bye.